the Goliath 12-gauge shotgun, a bullpup shotgun with a revolver-like magazine. This is a pretty fun shotgun. It's also got a very unique, dare I say, cool look. But unfortunately, as of now, that's all I can really say about it. I'll explain more later, but for now, let's just take a look at the stats of the weapon. This thing has a magazine of 6, total ammo 54, rate of fire of 333, damage of 44.1, accuracy of 56, stability of 44, concealment of 13, and threat of 28. There are two unique mods to this weapon. Both of them are barrels. You can have a short barrel or a silenced barrel. Both do kind of what you'd expect them to do. And like with any other shotgun, you can have one of the ammunitions, one of the barrel extensions, a boost, a gadget, and a sight. Now, one of the things I want to do right now is compare this weapon to the Street Sweeper. So if we take a look at the stats here, the Street Sweeper has a larger magazine, for now, a lot more total ammo, about the same rate of fire, same damage. The Goliath has a lot more accuracy, they have the same stability, and the Street Sweeper has a lot more concealment. Now, there are a few differences here and there, but since they share similar damage, they're going to have very similar performance. However, in the gameplay, I will be showing you some of the biggest differences between the two. And for the gameplay, I will be using a silenced crit Goliath setup. So let me show you my build for that. So for my skills, I have Stable Shot and Mastermind and Enforcer, Underdog, Shotgun CQB, Shotgun Impact, Close By Overkill, Resilience, Bullseye, Scavenger, Bullet Storm, Extra Lead, and Fully Loaded. Technician, Just Steady Grip. And Ghost, Duck and Cover, Parkour, Inner Pockets, Sneaky Bastard. Second Wind, Low Blow, Specialized Killing. And in Fugitive, Just 9 Lives. So the main point of this build was to try to get the most bang for my buck with the Goliath. Try to get the most damage I can out of it. So I picked up some silencer damage, also picked up crits, and Enforcer, gotta go with the shotgun skills. I decided to go with Close By Ace, which actually does affect the Goliath, so instead of having a 6-round magazine, you'll have a 21-round. And of course the damage and the reload. I also picked up Fully Loaded. This will be pretty integral to this weapon. I'll explain more later. I'm going to be using the Ex-President perk deck, and the way I've modded this Goliath is with Triple Aught Buck, the Suppressor, Concealment Boost, and the Compact Laser Module. Now, I would love to have one of these barrels, but unfortunately they have not been dropping for me at all. I think it might be bugged, so that may change in the future, but for now, I gotta work with it. Anyway, let's take a look at the gameplay. So, where to begin? First off, this shotgun is very interesting since it's somewhat of a combination between the Judge and the Street Sweeper. It has a lot of shared stats with the Street Sweeper, and it has a reload that's pretty similar to the Judge. It's also a secondary, like both of those. However, it's quite different from either of them. So, if you've used it at all or you've seen its stats, you'll know that the gun itself is very weak. It is among the weakest of the shotguns, but with the right skills, you can still make it work. Namely, damage skills like Shotgun Impact and Overkill. It has a fairly fast reload, what with its removable magazine and all. So, every time you reload, you get all 6 shots back, unlike reloading, say, 1 shell at a time, like the Rhinefield or the Locomotive. Unfortunately, as of right now, I feel like the performance of this gun is pretty subpar. So let me explain. The Street Sweeper is already one of the weakest shotguns in our arsenal, but like many of the weapons, it still has some merit in some specific situations. Mainly that it has a lot of ammo, both in the total ammo as well as a large base magazine of 12 to offset the low damage, as well as some decent concealment for anyone looking to get low visibility builds. Not only that, but it could also do very well if you made a build specifically utilizing its strong points, namely the type of ammo it can hold and the concealment it has. So one such build was the laser gun build, which I made a while back. Basically, it used crits, Triple Aught Buck, and silencer skills for increased damage on top of the normal skills you'd pick up for shotguns like damage and reload. So you'd end up having something quite beefy in your hands. The normally mediocre Street Sweeper was pretty good if you made it this way. Of course, I'm actually talking about the old Death Wish difficulty, using this build on that one, because the new Death Wish these days, after all these updates, seems to be more difficult than before. What with the usual enemies having more health, do more damage type deal. It seems that somewhere in the scaling that these guys just inherently got a buff. So the most apparent case of this is probably with specials. You've noticed they're so much harder to kill now than before. So I can't really say how well that particular build would do now, but I imagine it would do okay, just not nearly as well as it once did. So now let's see what we have with the Goliath. First and foremost, I feel that one of its biggest drawbacks is just the ammo it has. For the type of damage that it doesn't have nearly enough ammo to make it worth using. I mean, it has the same damage as a Street Sweeper, but around 20 rounds less, give or take depending on whether or not you're using fully loaded. But either way, that's a pretty significant thing for a shotgun that takes multiple shots to kill enemies. I already feel like I use most of my time just shooting at enemies without really killing them, and while the pickup is decent, it's not good enough on the higher difficulties for how many shots it takes to kill stuff. So, I guess, what if I made a build specifically for beefing up the Goliath, like I did the Street Sweeper? I'm not just grabbing the usual shotgun skills. Well, that's the setup I have going on right now, and while it does help out quite a bit in the performance of the gun, one of the biggest problems I had with it while making it is the mediocre concealment. Since the concealment on the Goliath is much worse than the Street Sweeper, I was really limited in what weapons I could pick up for my primary. Even more so now because for some reason I wasn't able to get any mods for the actual gun. So overall, it just feels like I'm using a worse Street Sweeper. In fact, on first glance at the stats, the only thing that it has better than Street Sweeper is just accuracy. So, I don't know, maybe Overkill intended the Goliath to be a gun that's more useful as a far-away aced flechette combo, or maybe it's to be paired with, what's that one? Slug ammo. But, I don't know. It doesn't really make up for its shortcomings. Either way, it doesn't really seem to be worth using all that much. The only big thing that it has going for it right now is the magazine reload. It does have a pretty small magazine at 6, but since it is technically considered a magazine at all, the weapon does qualify for the extra 15 shells that Close By Ace provides, and I have that skill right now in the gameplay right now. It gives the weapon a whopping 21 rounds in the magazine, which is really nice actually. I can shoot for days, and with the fast reload I can get it all back in no time. Of course, on the flip side, that also means that I can shoot it all out in no time, but it's kind of nice to have that option anyway. So, all those rounds really helps out with the weaker damage because, it's going to take more shots to kill things, and not having to reload as often is just going to help give me some staying power in firefights. But regardless of that, the lack of ammo still really kills it for me. I mean, if we didn't already have less incentive to pick up shotguns like this that are weaker than the Loco or the Judge, this just makes it worse. I mean, I really want to like the gun, I do. It looks really cool, it's got nice-ass iron sights, the reload animation for it is pretty satisfying too, but in the back of my mind, I just know that I get a lot more bang for my buck if I just use something like the Loco. I mean, sure, while it has less total ammo, what it does have instead is damage that makes shading kills a lot easier. Hell, it has better concealment, really good concealment, and even more mods for versatility depending on how you want to mod the gun for your playstyle. I don't know. I saw a few people on my stream describe it as a good lower difficulty gun, but I mean, isn't every gun a good lower difficulty gun in a sense? It's not really saying that much. So I guess if you play like Overkill and lower, this thing will do really well. In fact, a few times I did use it on Overkill, it's just like, whoa, this is really good. On Mayhem and Death Wish, it won't nearly be as effective, but you can still make it work with the right setup. If it wasn't clear right now, in the gameplay I'm playing on Death Wish, so you can kind of see how effective it is on this difficulty with the build I showed earlier. Make of that what you will. And when I tried it on 1 down, I felt pretty useless. I hit up ammo bags a lot, and I ended up not killing a lot of stuff. So that's actually not much different than like 90% of the weapons we use now. Really good on Overkill, mediocre on Death Wish, and unusable on 1 down. I guess the main reason why I feel like it sucks in particular to this gun is that not only is this a pretty neat little gun, But it's also a gun that was released on the same chain of updates as the new difficulty, so I was kind of hoping that the new gun would have some merit on one down. And to see it fall short is just, I guess it's just disappointing in a way, you know, even though it's not really much different than most of the weapons now. In any case, I guess I can say that, you know what, it's alright, but you're probably better off looking at your other options if you want to go with shotguns.